just don't understand why we're not growing. That's a phrase I've heard for years around church circles. On the occasion, it might be true. A church might be doing everything right, but for some reason, they just stop growing. Sometimes that happens and there's nothing you can do about it for a time. For instance, what if the economic climate changes in a town or the demographics change? Sometimes there's nothing you can actually do about it. However, there are times that there are actually glaring reasons as to why churches stop growing. What I've found is that there are kind of 4 common reasons why churches stop growing, why they may plateau, and they lose influence in their community. The first reason is unresolved conflict. This is probably, if I'm honest with you, the deadliest reason churches stop growing. If this disease isn't dealt with in a godly and timely fashion, it actually becomes contagious. How we love one another is supposed to be a defining mark of the church and of Christians. If we give all our energy to fighting, bickering, and holding a grudge, we really don't have any room for anything else. So you got to pay attention to that. The second is just terrible attendance tracking. Very few churches, I think, do this well. The churches that do it well are usually the ones that are growing. 2 things typically are the culprit. Not getting guest information. If you don't get a guest information, how can you follow up with him? Secondly, if you don't know who's there or not there, how you can possibly do effective member care, every person has a story. And I believe that that story matters to God. If that matters to God, it needs to matter to us. So find ways to track your people. The third reason why churches oftentimes hit a lid and stop growing is there isn't any warmth. This really is a lack of hospitality. Most churches, let's be honest, do a pitiful job of creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. And so this goes way beyond a few friendly people out front shaking hands. A church's hospitality is seen in everything that a church does, from the appearance of the nursery, the quality of bathrooms, campus signage, to publicly recognizing guests. I could go on and on and on, but I think you're probably kind of getting the idea here. Consider inviting someone from the outside to even attend for a weekend service, to act as a secret shopper. And then you have to be open enough to listen to what they have to say and learn from the things that they bring up. The fourth thing is boring worship services. You might be doing a great job in all the other areas of church health, and the church is still not growing. One likely culprit is probably that the worship service lacks inspiration, engagement, focus, and people aren't being moved. Here's the deal. If your worship services aren't moving your regular attendees to invite friends, relatives, and their neighbors, your worship experience isn't worth telling others about. In that case, it's time to change things up. It's time to figure out where we might be missing it. Consider coming up with some evaluation questions to evaluate each and every weekend service so that you're just slowly moving forward and progressing in your connection piece. First of all, you need to recognize, is there a consistent flow to the worship experience? Or is the worship experience, is it choppy? Each week you're telling a story. So every element of the service is helping you tell the story, and it should be telling the same story. Do people like the preaching? And let's be honest, do they really like the preaching? Consider seeking some professional help when it comes to the entire worship experience. These are just a few short things that I think are good to kind of key in on to help us understand how do we continue to move forward, grow as a church so that we reach more people for Christ in our community.